Right, welcome to today's yoga class. We are going to use our blanket, roll it up, big long sausage. So when we come to lying down, we can use that along the length of our spine. Before we get there, I want you to come into whatever a comfortable seated position is for you right now. And that can be in a chair, it can be sitting on the floor, on your shins, with your legs crossed, with your legs out in front, whatever feels comfortable for you, where you can also sit with a nice tall spine. So if you find that you're hunching over, you might want to rearrange the bottom half of you to allow the pelvis to tilt into the optimal position to be upright. If you're happy to have your eyes closed, let your eyes close over. And if you don't want to have your eyes closed, let your gaze drop down to the floor. And let's take an inhale through the nose and take an exhale where you sigh the breath out. So make the exhale audible. And do that again, nice deep inhale. Allow the breath to go in as deeply as possible, and notice if your breath feels sticky in the upper part of your chest. If you're struggling to get the breath past your chest, we'll work on that in a moment. Just nice long audible exhale out. And then bringing your awareness into this inhaling breath. So if your breath is getting stuck in the upper part of the chest, sometimes placing your hands on the lower ribs, sometimes slowing the inhale down, sometimes a combination of both can help. But as we're taking our breath in, I want you to feel the ribcage expand out into your hands. And if you've not got your hands there, then expand out into the tissues of your clothes. Now, if any of your clothes are too tight, including your bra strap, that can restrict the movement. So notice if that is the case for you. And sometimes it's the muscles in the spine are tight, or the muscles in the chest are tight. So we're trying to use this inflation of the lungs to fill up like balloons inside the body to create this internal stretch, this internal movement to release out. We're going to try and maintain this same inflation of the lungs, so filling right up. And when we're exhaling this time, I want you to try and exhale the breath as fully as possible. So as you're breathing out, really try and use the tummy muscles, draw the waist in to help push the air out. And notice how easy or how challenging this is for you. If you find it difficult to engage through the waist and difficult to help push that air out, then the muscles inside need a bit more time to strengthen up. They need a bit more work to strengthen. So this might be something that you bring into a daily practice to help build strength. The diaphragm that sits from ribcage to ribcage that lifts as you exhale and pushes down as you inhale, that is a muscle. So if you're a shallow breather into the upper part of the chest, this muscle is going to get tight and weak. So we want to build strength. When that muscle's strong, it helps hold your posture. As well as massaging all the internal organs that sit below and above it. I'm just going to do another 2 breaths here. And at the end of the exhale, you can, if your eyes are closed over, gently flutter the eyes open, just allowing the light back in. And then starting to move the skull around. Morning, Barbara.
Morning.
Things. Noticing how the muscles of the neck feel. Maybe looking from left to right, up and down. Moving the head, maybe in a figure of 8. Noticing where you're holding tension, if you're holding tension. And then we're going to do our ear massage. So where your ears round and the cartilage bit at the top, we're just going to stretch and massage that round all the way round to the lobes, and do that a few times just to get that nice stretch in the tissue. So we're tapping into the acupuncture or reflexology of the ear points. Forgot my oil as well. So this is going to help free up some of the tension in the neck. And just check that you're doing some nice deep breaths in and out here. And then bring the hands away and move the side again. And just notice where it was maybe tight before, has that freed up? It never ceases to amaze me how effective that ear roll is when the neck is feeling tight. Nice. Let your head settle. We're going to go into our hand and then foot massage before we lie down. So Barbara, just because you joined a wee bit late, were you going to use the long blanket rolled up into a sausage again for when we come to lying down, so just in case you don't have it close by. If you are using a cream or oil, I'm going to put a little drop on and then rub the hands together, warming the hands up. Now as you do this, I want you to drop the shoulders back. And if you start to feel uncomfortable how you're sitting, feel free to move and adjust yourself at any time. And noticing how one hand and arm feels, so just how the other hand and arm feels. And you start to work your way up each finger and the spaces between the fingers on the back of the hand and the palm of the hand. Getting in around the nail and the pad of the finger. Applying some pressure. And then same on the other side. Check in with that breath again. It's amazing how many times I catch myself holding my breath. Once you have worked both hands, and take your time if you find that there's a spot on one side that feels really tight and needs more attention, take your time with it. You don't need to move on yet if you're not ready to. But if you are ready to move on, I'm going to work the webbing in between the fingers. Using your index finger, you're going to press down into the webbing between the thumb and the index finger. Do it from the palm side of the hand and then do from the back of the hand. Press down a couple of times, nice deep breaths in and out, and then move on to the next space. So right now we're just identifying if there are any places that feel tight or tense. Then working on to the next space. And then the last space of this hand. And then over onto the other hand. So we're checking out this webbing that's in between the fingers is part of your connective tissue or your fascia body. And sometimes when you've got tension here, it can present as pain or discomfort somewhere else in the body. And once you've done all the spaces between the fingers, if there was an area that was particularly tight, go back and work on that. If all of them felt tight, you might link all the fingers in and press in nice and tightly. Just check that it's not the shoulders that are going tight. But if it was one or two particular places, and especially if you wear jewellery all the time, so I've got two fingers that I wear rings on all the time, those rings have created indents in my finger. Those indents are the flattening and compression of your fascia, of that connective tissue, and that's going to then present as discomfort, pain, potentially somewhere else in the body. And then let's start to link all the fingers together if you're not already doing that. And give that a nice tight squeeze, and the squeeze is coming from the fingers being linked in. Check you're not holding the breath. We're going to link all the fingers the other way, so release, switch them all to the other side. We'll link it in, give that a squeeze. Can feel weird, even though some of us have been doing this for quite a long time, it still feels less comfortable and less familiar than the hands being linked the other way. And again, just check for the shoulders being tense. And then go back to the original way and press the palms out. So stretching those fingers back. And then bring it in, link the fingers the other way and press out, getting fingers stretched. And then bring that in, give the hands a shake off. We're going to adjust our position to get access to our feet. If your trousers allow, you might want to pull the leg up slightly to get in around the ankle and the lower part of the shin. If you're using a cream or oil, drop on. Now, when we start to work on our feet, obviously we'll have changed position. We're leaning forwards to get access to the foot. What I want you to check is that you've not collapsed through the waist and through the spine. So can you stay tall in the spine as much as possible? Getting the oil in, covering the whole foot. And as you're covering the foot, I want you to notice the texture and textures across your foot. Are there particular areas of your foot that the skin's been hard or rough? Notice the temperature of your foot. Is your foot cold? If your foot's cold, then circulation is not getting all the way down to our feet. So that's an indicator that there's blockages somewhere in the body. And noticing any sensations as you're working into both the sole of the foot and the top of the foot. Any particular areas that are tight or tense. As you're working through the foot, remember to get in around the heel, as well as the ball of the foot, as well as each of the toes, coming in around the ankle. And then we are going to work each of the toes individually. So take hold of the ankle side of your foot with one hand, the other hand is going to pull the toe long and circle the toe round. So getting into that knuckle joint of the toe, and then work your way across. Like we did with the fingers, any particular spaces that feel tense or tight, take note of them and you can come back to them if needed. So if there was a space there that needs a bit more pressure, a bit more attention, now you're looking for where there's sensations of pain, but we're not trying to cause pain, we're looking for the pain, and then we're trying to breathe into it to get to release and relax, to make it more of a sensation, and then that sensation to dissipate. We do that by making sure we're not holding our breath and allowing a long, steady, slow exhale. When we get that long exhale, we're activating the parasympathetic part of the nervous system, which is your rest and digest, and it allows that tension to know that it's safe to let go. Can we start to slide all our fingers through between the toes? So through and out. And then can we take hands with our foot, pulling the toes long, and then can we wring the foot out? And because temperature's got a bit colder, this might be more challenging, might be stiffer if your feet are feeling cold with the colder temperatures. The warmer your foot is, the easier it is to slide the fingers in because the muscles are more pliable. So if you are finding it tight, just moving in, encouraging that blood flow, encouraging the warmth into the foot. And then you can keep the fingers between the toes, take the other hand away and circle the ankle around. And then changing the direction. And then easing the fingers out from between the toes. And quick notice of the foot you've worked versus the foot you haven't. My foot that I haven't worked yet looks a bit dead. So I'm going to bring it back to life. So covering the foot in oil or cream, or just massage and dry if that's what you're doing. And noticing how this foot feels. So is the temperature different in this foot? Are the textures different on this foot? And like we're right-handed and left-handed, we are right-footed or left-footed. So depending on which you are. So if you were to kick a ball, which leg would you swing back to kick that ball? Sometimes it's the same side as your hands, sometimes it's the opposite. But the foot you would kick with will be the foot that's probably not got as good a balance. The texture points on this foot will be different, the tension points will be different. So you're just observing. And then when you're ready to, take hold of the foot with one hand and then pulling the toe long. And can you circle the toe in at that knuckle joint and work your way across the toes again? A couple of circles in each direction. You check in with the breath. And then doing that webbing check, so one finger in from the sole of the foot, in from the top of the foot, working your way across the space between the toes. And then if there was any that was particularly tight, going back to them, looking for that long exhale. And then can we start to slide all the fingers through, so through and out of all the spaces in between the toes at the same time. We're looking to take hands with the foot. And again, this foot might be colder, might be warmer. The space between the toes is going to be different as well. So this foot might be easier to stretch out, might be more challenging. Can we pull the toes long, start to bring the foot out. And then taking the hand away from the ankle and circling the foot around to get that movement into the ankle. A few circles each way. And then gently easing the fingers out in the spaces between. And then hopefully that foot looks more alive than it did before we started it. Okay, let's get onto our blanket. So lie the blanket along the length of your mat and then take your backside on and then just gently lower the spine down over the length of it so that your head is supported. Have your hands away from the body with the palms face up. And we're just going to let the body settle into this space. So thinking about your breath, like we did at the very start when we were seated. Can we take the breath right down into those deep lobes of the lungs? And as we're breathing out, can we breathe out as fully as possible? And some people find this easier to do when they're lying down than they did when they were sitting up. For some people find it easier sitting up than lying down. Observe how this is happening for you. If it helps, you can place your hands onto those lower ribs. As you're breathing in, if you can, breathe in through the nose. As you're breathing out, totally up to you if you breathe out through the nose and out through the mouth. You might play around with a couple of breaths. In through the nose, out through the nose, and in through the nose, out through the mouth, just to see which works better for you. Once you've got your breathing into a steady rhythm, I want you to start to notice the back of the body and the contact points it has with the blanket, with the back of the head. There might be a little gap at the back of the neck, in between the shoulder blades, down the spine. There might be a little bit of a gap at the lower back, and we're not trying to create the gap or take the gap away, we're just allowing the spine to be in its natural curves. And we're noticing the back of the pelvis. Have a slight bend in the arms. I'm going to pick the arms up and start to make circles with the movement. So those circles are as big or as small as they need to be. Keep the slight bend in the elbows so that we're not overextending the elbow joint. Can you keep your chin tucked down and your ribs tucked in? So our bodies are always looking for the path of least resistance. And sometimes that means that we create movement in parts of the body that we're not trying to move. So right now we're trying to get movement into the shoulders, so into the shoulder sockets, a little bit of movement with the shoulder blades at the back of the body. Then we're going to change direction with those circles. So whatever way you were going, go the opposite. Still keeping that slight bend in the elbows. And one more time. Let the arms settle with the palms faced up. Just gently rock your weight from one side to the other. The pelvis is rocking, the spine is slightly rocking, almost like you were going to roll off the blanket and then back on. Just giving the full spine a little bit of a massage as the pressure has been applied from the blanket. Then let the weight settle into the centre. And you're going to let the knee drop out to the side. Notice how much the pelvis wants to follow. Bring that knee back up. Do the same thing on the other side. So let the knee move out to the side, noticing how much the pelvis follows. Bring it back to centre. So this time when we take the knee out, we're not going to let the pelvis follow. So you might bring your opposite hand down onto the outside part of the pelvis so that the knee can drop out and you can hold the pelvis in place. Bring that back in, switch to the other side. So trying to get them opening the movement in the hip joint. Check you're not holding your breath. So you might exhale as you take the knee out to the sides. You might inhale as you bring it back to centre. You're rolling onto the pinky toe side of the foot and then back up onto the sole of the foot. And then do that one more time to each side. And then from here, you're going to heel toe your feet wider. So they're about shoulder width apart, maybe slightly wider. Arms going out wide. And let the knees go to one side. Turn your head away from the knees. Bring the head back to the centre, bring the knees back to the centre. And then the knees go the other way, turning your head away from the knees. Bring it back to centre. So you might inhale as you come through the centre. And exhale as you come into the twist. Inhale into the centre. And exhale into twist. Inhale into centre. And exhale into twist. So as you're doing this, you might slightly move off your blanket through the hips. That's okay. You might notice that the blanket between the shoulder blades kind of stretches into the shoulder blade. That can feel really nice. If anything feels painful or uncomfortable, then move away from it. We're going to do that one more time to each side. And then when you've come over to this side, we're going to slightly bend the back arm, pick it up so that you're rolling over onto your side, just so that you can slide the blanket out from the spine. You're going to roll onto your back so that you're just onto the floor. And you're going to move the blanket round, lift the pelvis and sit the blanket across the way at the back of your pelvis. Now where you put it is going to be specific to you and your needs. So you might want to start it towards the top of your butt crack and see how that feels. And if that feels uncomfortable, doesn't feel nice, or if there's any pain in the lower back, you might move it slightly higher. So you might have it sitting across the top of the pelvis, or you might have it slightly higher so that it's more in towards your lumbar spine, so into that curve at the lower back. So play with each of those three positions, and then just see which feels like the nicest position for you, that your pelvis feels supported and there isn't any pain or any discomfort presenting. And remember that you can always, when we start to move, if you think this isn't quite in the right place for me, you can always move the blanket. If there's any numbness anywhere, if there's any tingling sensations, then you're pressing on nerves, not ideal, so you want to move it away from that. We're going to go back to that same movement we did when just a moment ago with the arms out wide. And on an exhale, take the knees to one side, turn the head away from the knees. Inhale back to centre. Exhale the other way. So these first couple of moves will give you a good indication, is your blanket in the right place for you? Do you need to slightly adjust the blanket? And if you're not sure, you can always adjust it and see if it works better for you in a different place, and if not, move it back. When we're taking our knees from side to side, we're just looking to apply a little bit extra pressure in around your butt muscles to help free up any tension. So if you're particularly tight, higher up, more in the lower back, then blanket up higher might be more useful. If you know that you're tight in your backside and then around your hips, then having the blanket that little bit lower might be more appropriate for you. So can you use that exhaling breath to ease in? Inhaling up through the centre, exhaling over. Noticing where you feel tight, and if there's a space that, or a side that you feel particularly tight at, you might stay there for an extra couple of breaths, just allowing that pressure to get the tissues to soften, to melt in. We're just going to do this for about another 30 seconds or so, so you might want to go more quickly from side to side, or you might want to hang out on one side for longer. Can you notice if you're holding tension that shouldn't be there? And then just one more full round of breath. And then bringing your head and knees back to the centre. Lift the pelvis up and just slide the blanket out of the way for the moment. Let the spine rest into the floor. And notice the back of the body. Like we did when we first lay down on the blanket, let's notice the curves in the spine. So the skull resting into the floor. Notice the space at the back of the neck. Notice the space between the shoulder blades. Notice the space at the lower back. From here, I want you just to gently roll yourself over onto one side. Bring yourself up into a seated position. And you're going to have your blanket so that the bottom of your butt cheeks, top of your hamstrings are sitting onto your blanket. If that feels difficult to sit upright with the legs straight, have the knees slightly bent. And then what you'll do is you'll exhale one leg down and bring it back up, and then exhale the other leg down and bring it back up. If you're quite comfortable or comfortable-ish to sit upright with your legs out long and having your hands just on the floor behind you helps keep you upright, then you have that option. If this is really comfortable sitting upright with the toes pointed up, can you keep the spine long and have a slight lean forward? We're looking for this pressure to help release the top of the hamstrings, and then where the hamstrings and butt meet, where there's lots of muscles that crisscross over each other, there's lots of fascia that sits here that can get really tense and really tight. So those options again, sitting straight, one with the knees slightly bent, and then straightening one leg down and up, other leg down and up, or legs straight but hands behind to give you a little bit of support, or having a lean forward. Now if you come into that lean forward and find that you're catching your breath, then inhale back and exhale forward. It might feel nice to gently load the weight from one side to the other, so a slight shift in the upper body movement from side to side. Just a couple more breaths here. And then bending the knees, shifting your pelvis back. Now, if your blanket has got quite flat, you might want to roll it in again, or you might want to double it over. We're going to come to lying on your tummy if that's okay for you, with this under the hip flexors. So at the top of the hips where your crease is, across the top of the pubic bone, that's where we want the blanket to be sitting. So if you double it up and then you lie on it and think that's too high, that's too hard, then just unfold it. And you're going to let your belly rest down to the floor. You're going to let your head rest down. So you can have your head turned so that you're resting on one of your cheeks. You can have your hands stacked so that your forehead's resting. I want you to keep your shoulders relaxed wherever you are here. Can you take nice deep breaths in and out? Make sure that there's no discomfort in around that lower back. We're trying to let this lower back relax here. Going to stay here for another 2 breaths. And then you're going to just shift the blanket down so that it's at the top of the thighs. So just slightly lower than the pubic bone. And then can you point one toe, lift the leg up and bend the knee. So ankles roughly over the knee, and then you're going to move the foot out to the side and then move the foot towards the opposite leg. So we're getting the thigh to internally, externally rotate. You're moving from one side of the thigh to the other. And just noticing if there's any discomfort here. Make sure that you're not holding your breath. And if you can keep your knee slightly lifted away from the floor, that's going to help you get a stretch right through the front of that thigh. And then bringing that foot back to the centre, lowering that leg down, lifting the other leg. So the knees coming away from the floor, knees bending, foot stopping roughly over the knee, and then rotate that foot out, rotate the foot towards the opposite. And notice how this side feels. This thigh might feel completely different than it did on the first side. Check in with your breath, especially if you're finding a bit that feels like it's catching, that it feels like it's tight. And if your knee starts to drop towards the floor, just lift it back up again. Just one more time each way with the foot going from side to side. And then gently lower that all the way back down. Take a couple of breaths here. We're going to slide the forearms in so that the hands are in line with the face, the elbows are in next to the chest. You press the forearms into the floor as you lift your hips up, edging yourself back. If child's pose is an okay place for you to rest, slide your blanket out the way into child's pose. And then from here, we're going to gently bring ourselves up, going back over onto our backs to go into our relaxation. If lying on the blanket feels really nice for your spine, so lying on that big sausage, if that feels nice for your spine, please feel free to lie there through meditation. If you want to use the blanket to keep you cozy and warm, then please feel free to bring your blanket over your body. Making sure that as we go into the relaxation, into this meditation part of class, that you are in the position that feels most comfortable, most soothing for you. Any other pillows or blankets that you want to bring in, please feel free to bring them in, tuck yourself in. Try and have the back of the neck long, the chest open, hands either away from the body with the palms faced up or resting onto the body with the palms face down. Your legs either out long with the feet wide, toes flopped out to the side, or if there's any lower back issues, have the feet wider than the hips and let the knees rest in against each other. So lots of different options there for your positioning for the relaxation. Please take one feels right for you to take. And I'm going to take you into this guided meditation and then leave you to be there for as long as you want or as you need. So once you've got yourself settled, I want you to let your eyes be closed. And come back to your breath like we did at the very start. Can you take a couple of breaths where you sigh out and notice how that feels when you're sighing out now after having done the releases, got some movement, created some space in all the tissues of the body. Bringing your awareness into the breath. So as you're breathing in, can you feel the ribcage expanding out? And if it's helpful for you to place your hands on the ribs again, please feel free to place the hands on the ribs. But look for that sense of the lungs expanding out on the inhale and them softening on the exhale. With each breath in, we're creating space in the body, allowing whatever we need to bring in to come in. And as we're breathing out, we're letting go of anything that no longer serves us. It might help for you to imagine that you're breathing in coolness and calmness, and your cares and worries float away with the out breath. Just allowing the body to become heavier and heavier as it rests and relaxes into the floor. I'm going to invite you to set an intention, and we'll set the intention in a positive present tense statement, starting I am, So I am, and then whatever you want to bring in. So I am calm, I am focused, I am confident, I am whatever it is that you want to bring in. And then you're going to repeat that statement to yourself 3 times with feeling, awareness, and certainty. We're then going to take a trip throughout the body, allowing the mind to jump from one part to the next. Bring your awareness to the right hand and to the thumb, second finger, third, fourth, fifth. Palm of the hand, back of the hand, wrist, lower arm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, armpit, waist, hip, thigh, knee, calf muscle, ankle, heel, sole of the foot, top of the foot, right toes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Moving your awareness to the left hand and to the thumb, second finger, third, fourth, fifth. Palm of the hand, back of the hand, wrist, lower arm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, armpit, waist, hip, thigh, knee, calf muscle, ankle, heel, sole of the foot, top of the foot, left toes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Moving your awareness to the back of the body. And we'll start at the back of the head where it touches to the floor. The back of the head, the right shoulder blade, left shoulder blade, the spine, right buttock, left buttock, back of the right thigh, back of the left thigh, back of the right calf, back of the left calf, the right heel, the left heel. And then taking your awareness to the top of the body. And here we'll start at the top of the head. Top of the head, forehead, both sides of the head. Right eyebrow, left eyebrow, eyebrow centre. Right eyelid, left eyelid, right eye, left eye, right ear, left ear, right cheek, left cheek, right nostril, left nostril, upper lip, lower lip, chin, jaw, throat, right collarbone, left collarbone, right chest, left chest, middle of the chest, upper abdomen, lower abdomen, the navel, right groin, left groin, right thigh, left thigh, right kneecap, left kneecap, right shin, left shin, right ankle, left ankle, right toes, left toes, the whole of the right leg, the whole of the left leg, both legs together, the whole of the right arm, the whole of the left arm, both arms together, the whole of the front and back together, the whole of the head together, the whole body, the whole body, the whole body. Have awareness of your body and the contact points it has with the floor. Have awareness of the breath and the subtle movements that happen in the body with the breath. Awareness of body, awareness of breathing. Awareness of the position of your body lying on the floor. So bring to mind that intention that you set a few minutes ago and repeat that same intention, I am, and whatever you were bringing in. Repeat it again 3 times with maximum feeling, awareness, and certainty. Relax all efforts and start to become familiar with your surroundings, aware of the position that your body's lying in on the floor, starting to notice any sounds that are coming. And as you bring your awareness round, you might want to start to introduce some movement into your body, maybe wiggling the fingers and toes, stretching yourself out, hugging your knees in, anything at all that feels good for you. And then only when you feel ready to, do you sit yourself up and open your eyes, and then today's practice will be complete. Thank you so much.